Imagine finally getting that dream apartment, the one with floor-to-ceiling windows, granite countertops, and a view that makes your Instagram followers double-tap with envy. Now imagine inviting your ex over, the one who said you'd never amount to anything, just to show them how wrong they were. Sounds satisfying, right? Well, that's exactly what Alex Thompson thought when he invited his ex-girlfriend Maya to his housewarming party in the prestigious Skyline Towers. What Alex didn't know was that life had a twist waiting for him, one that would knock his carefully constructed pedestal right out from under him. Because sometimes, the people we think we've left behind have journeys of their own, ones we never bothered to imagine. And in Maya's case, her journey had led her to become the owner of the very building Alex was so proud to call his new home. This is a story about the games we play, the facades we maintain, and what happens when our attempts to impress others come crashing down around us. It's about learning that true success isn't measured by square footage or luxury appliances, but by the growth we experience and the humility we embrace. So settle in as we explore how one man's attempt to gloat became the wake-up call he never knew he needed. Alex Thompson grew up in a middle-class suburb where success was measured by the cars in driveways and the colleges on acceptance letters. The second son of a high school teacher and an insurance salesman, Alex had always felt the need to prove himself. His older brother, Michael, seemed to coast through life, effortlessly achieving everything their parents valued: athletic scholarships, academic honors, and eventually, a lucrative position at a prestigious law firm. By comparison, Alex felt invisible. Average grades, no remarkable talents, and a series of retail jobs through college hadn't exactly made him the star of family gatherings. Still figuring things out, relatives would ask with thinly veiled disappointment. Each question felt like a tiny paper cut to his self-esteem. When Alex landed an entry-level marketing position after graduation, it barely registered on his family's radar. Michael had just made partner that same month. At dinner, his parents spent 45 minutes discussing Michael's accomplishment and exactly 3 asking about Alex's new job. Marketing, huh? His father had said between bites of pot roast. Well, I suppose that could lead somewhere eventually. It was this constant comparison, this persistent feeling of inadequacy, that shaped Alex into someone who measured his worth through external validation. His apartment became a reflection of his success or lack thereof. The cramped studio with mismatched furniture and questionable plumbing was, to him, a physical manifestation of his failure. Then came Maya Chen. Brilliant, driven, and surprisingly interested in him. Their meeting at a mutual friend's birthday had seemed like fate. She laughed at his jokes, asked about his dreams, and for once, someone looked at Alex like he mattered. Maya saw potential in him that even he couldn't see. For 3 years, they built a life together. Maya encouraged Alex to pursue better positions, to believe in himself. Under her influence, he secured promotions, started saving money, began imagining a future beyond the next paycheck. For once, he wasn't living in anyone's shadow, but success changed Alex in ways neither of them anticipated. Each promotion, each salary increase, fed something hungry inside him, the part that had been starved for recognition his entire life. He became fixated on status symbols, on proving his worth to everyone who had ever doubted him, especially his family. The designer clothes came first. Then the luxury car he could barely afford. His social media became carefully curated to project an image of success. Old friends were replaced with networking connections. And slowly, the genuine connection that had drawn Maya to him began to fade, obscured by his growing obsession with appearances. What Alex didn't realize was that in his desperate pursuit to become someone his family would admire, he was losing the person Maya had fallen in love with, the authentic, kind-hearted man beneath the insecurities. As his external success grew, his emotional intelligence diminished. The very relationship that had helped him rise became collateral damage to his ambition. Long before Maya Chen met Alex Thompson, she had learned the value of resilience. The only child of immigrants who left Shanghai with little more than hopes for a better future, Maya grew up watching her parents transform limitations into opportunities. Their first home in America was a 1-bedroom apartment above the family restaurant where they worked 16-hour days. While other kids complained about homework, Maya completed hers at a corner table amidst the dinner rush, the sounds of woks clanging and customers chatting forming the soundtrack of her childhood. Her parents never explicitly pressured her to succeed, but Maya internalized their work ethic. She understood the sacrifices they had made. Education wasn't just a path forward, it was an obligation to honor their struggles. She earned scholarships, worked part-time jobs throughout college, and graduated with dual degrees in business and real estate development, all while helping manage the books for her parents' now thriving restaurant. Unlike Alex, Maya's drive wasn't fueled by a need for external validation. Success, to her, meant financial security and the ability to give back, first to her parents, then to the community that had embraced her family. She didn't post about achievements on social media or drop brand names in conversation. Her accomplishments spoke through actions, not announcements. When a small inheritance from her grandmother arrived during her final year of college, Maya made her first investment, a rundown duplex in an up-and-coming neighborhood. She renovated one unit herself on weekends, rented it out, lived in the other, and used the income to make her next purchase. By 28, while still working her day job at a real estate development firm, Maya had quietly built a modest portfolio of properties. What Maya valued in others wasn't their possessions or positions, but their character. She collected people like she collected properties, seeing potential where others didn't, investing time in relationships with substance. Her friend circle was diverse: the elderly couple who owned the bodega near her first duplex, her former economics professor, artists, teachers, entrepreneurs. Each connection taught her something new about life and business. When Maya met Alex at that birthday party, she was drawn to his genuine smile and self-deprecating humor. Behind his jokes, she sensed a kind person who hadn't yet recognized his own worth. Their early dates weren't fancy restaurant outings but walks through local parks, conversations over coffee, volunteering together at a community garden. In Alex, Maya saw someone with whom she could build something meaningful. As their relationship progressed, Maya continued her quiet ascent in the real estate world. 6 months before their breakup, she made her most significant acquisition yet, becoming a major stakeholder in Skyline Development Group, which owns several luxury properties across the city, including the prestigious Skyline Towers. It was a calculated risk that stretched her financially but aligned with her long-term vision. Maya had tried sharing this journey with Alex, but as his focus shifted to outward displays of success, he'd grown increasingly disinterested in her boring property talk. He'd never even bothered to learn which buildings her company had acquired. The night she closed the Skyline deal, the achievement she was most proud of, Alex had cut her celebration dinner short to attend a networking event with potential clients. It wasn't Alex's ambition that eventually drove Maya away, it was the realization that they no longer shared the same values. Where she saw success as a means to security and giving back, he saw it as a weapon to prove his worth. The final straw came when he skipped her father's retirement party, an important cultural milestone in her family, because tickets to an exclusive gala became available at the last minute. The relationship ended not with dramatic fights but with the quiet recognition that they were walking different paths. Maya wished him well, genuinely hoping he would find whatever he was looking for. She continued building her empire quietly, finding fulfillment in creating beautiful spaces where people could build their lives, never feeling the need to announce her accomplishments to the world. The rain tapped against the windows of Maya's apartment, creating a melancholic rhythm that matched the heaviness in the air. Alex sat on the edge of the couch, their couch, the one they had carried up 3 flights of stairs together, laughing and cursing the narrow stairwell. Now, it felt like it belonged to a different life entirely. "I don't understand," Alex said, his voice catching. "We've been doing so well. I just got the promotion. We can finally afford to move somewhere better, somewhere that reflects who we're becoming." Maya's eyes were kind but resolute as she placed a mug of tea on the coffee table in front of him. "That's just it, Alex. I'm not sure I like who we're becoming." "What's that supposed to mean?" A defensive edge crept into his voice. Maya sat across from him, choosing her words carefully. "Remember our third date? We went to that hole-in-the-wall taco place and you had salsa all over your shirt. You laughed so hard you snorted your drink. That's the man I fell in love with, someone who found joy in simple moments, who didn't need expensive restaurants or designer labels to feel worthy. Alex's jaw tightened. So you're breaking up with me because I finally have ambition? Because I don't want to settle for mediocrity anymore? No, Maya said softly. I'm ending things because somewhere along the way, you started measuring your worth, our worth, by things instead of experiences. When was the last time we had a conversation that wasn't about your job, or what car you want to buy next, or which exclusive club you're trying to get into? That's not fair. I'm working hard to build a life for us, the kind of life we deserve. Maya's eyes glistened. But I never needed that life, Alex. I was happy with movie nights on this lumpy couch. I was happy making Sunday brunch in our tiny kitchen. What I needed was a partner who showed up not just physically, but emotionally. The silence between them expanded, filled only by the persistent rain. Alex thought about defending himself, about listing all the sacrifices he'd made, the hours he'd worked. But somewhere beneath his indignation, a small voice whispered that she was right. My dad's retirement party was important to me, Maya continued. To my whole family. You knew that for months. I explained about the gala, Alex countered. Those connections could have been huge for my career. And that's your priority now. I understand that. But it's not mine. Maya's voice remained gentle, even as she delivered the blow. We want different things, Alex. And that's okay. But it means we shouldn't be together anymore. Later, as Alex packed his things into cardboard boxes, his hurt calcified into something harder, more brittle. It was easier to believe that Maya just didn't understand ambition, that she was holding him back, than to face the truth of what he'd lost and why. He told himself he was better off without someone who couldn't support his rise. He deserved someone who appreciated the finer things, someone impressed by his achievements. As he carried the last box to his car, Maya pressed a small wrapped package into his hands. What's this? He asked, suspicion lacing his tone. A housewarming gift. For wherever you end up next. Her smile was genuine, without a trace of bitterness. I hope you find what you're looking for, Alex. I really do. He tossed the unwrapped gift into a drawer when he reached his temporary sublet. It would be months before curiosity compelled him to open it, a simple frame containing a photo of them from the beginning of their relationship, laughing in the community garden where they had volunteered, dirt smudged on their cheeks, completely unself-conscious. On the back, Maya had written, "This is the real you. Don't forget him." By then, his narrative about their breakup had solidified. Maya hadn't been ambitious enough to keep up with him. She'd been intimidated by his success. Someday, he'd show her exactly what she had given up. 6 months after the breakup, Alex's professional life blossomed like never before. The networking connections he'd prioritized over Maya's father's retirement party had indeed paid off, landing him a senior position at a prestigious marketing firm with a significant salary increase. Each accomplishment reinforced his belief that the end of their relationship had been necessary collateral damage on his path to success. His first major purchase was the apartment in Skyline Towers, a modernist high-rise with amenities that his former self could only have dreamed about. The floor-to-ceiling windows, smart home system, concierge service, and breathtaking city view served as daily confirmation that he had made the right choices. Alex spent weeks curating his new space, selecting furniture that told the story of a successful young professional with impeccable taste. A mid-century modern couch that cost more than his first car. Art pieces by up-and-coming artists that his designer assured him would appreciate in value. A bar cart stocked with top-shelf liquors he didn't particularly enjoy but knew would impress visitors. Each addition to the apartment was chosen with the same meticulous consideration one might give to selecting props for a theatrical production. Because that's what the space was becoming, a stage set for the performance of success. As the apartment neared completion, the idea of a housewarming party took root. Not the casual gathering with pizza and board games that he and Maya might have hosted in their old place, but something elegant that would cement his new social standing. The guest list became an exercise in curation. Work colleagues who could advance his career. New friends from the right social circles. A few childhood acquaintances he'd reconnected with, solely to show them how far he'd come. And as Alex scrolled through his contacts late one night, slightly buzzed on an expensive whiskey he was teaching himself to appreciate, he paused at Maya's name. An idea formed, reckless, petty, but intoxicating. What if he invited her? What better way to prove she'd been wrong about him? He imagined her face as she stepped into his luxury apartment, the realization dawning that she had miscalculated, that she had walked away from someone destined for greatness. In the clear light of morning, Alex might have recognized the childishness of the impulse. But by then, the fantasy had taken hold, reshaping itself into something that felt like justice. Maya had believed he was too focused on material success. Showing her just how successful he'd become would be the perfect rebuttal to her criticism. He drafted and redrafted the invitation text a dozen times, striking a balance between casual and calculated. Hey Maya, I know it's been a while. I'm hosting a small gathering to celebrate my new place at Skyline Towers next Saturday. Would be great to catch up if you can make it. 7 p.m., apartment 1806. His thumb hovered over the send button for several seconds before pressing it. There was a momentary surge of anxiety, quickly replaced by smug satisfaction. Whether she came or not, he had made his point. He was doing more than fine without her. As RSVPs rolled in over the next few days, Alex threw himself into preparation. He hired a caterer renowned for serving the city's elite, arranged for a pianist to provide ambient music, and selected a signature cocktail with an obscure Japanese whiskey as its base. Each decision was made with an imagined audience in mind, not just his guests, but specifically Maya. The Alex she had known would never have been able to pull off something so sophisticated. This party would be the final evidence that she had fundamentally misunderstood who he was and what he was capable of becoming. When her response finally came, a simple, "Thanks for the invitation. I'll try to stop by." Alex felt a rush of vindication. She was curious. She wanted to see for herself. And when she did, he would finally have closure, not through words or arguments, but through the irrefutable evidence of his success. What he couldn't know was that Maya had her own reasons for accepting ones that had nothing to do with the narrative he had constructed, and everything to do with the responsibilities of her position as the building's owner. Maya was reviewing quarterly financial projections in her office when Alex's message arrived. The familiar name on her screen momentarily transported her back to their shared history movie marathons on rainy Sundays, the time they attempted to make croissants from scratch and ended up with an apartment full of smoke, the quiet conversations about dreams and fears as they lay awake at night. Those memories had softened over time, losing their sharp edges. She had moved on professionally and personally, occasionally dating but primarily focused on growing her real estate portfolio and expanding her parents' original restaurant into a small chain of authentic Shanghai-style eateries. The message itself didn't surprise her as much as the address did. Skyline Towers. Her building, or at least, the building owned by the development group she now held a controlling interest in. The irony wasn't lost on her. Of all the luxury buildings in the city, Alex had unknowingly chosen to live in one connected to her. Maya set her phone down and gazed out her office window at the city skyline, considering her options. The petty part of her, a small voice she rarely indulged, suggested attending just to see his face when he learned the truth. But that wasn't who she was or who she wanted to be. She called Wei, her assistant and trusted confidant since her first property acquisition. Skyline Towers, Wei mused after Maya explained the situation. Isn't that the building where you're planning to announce the new community initiative next month? The one converting the unused ground floor space into affordable artist studios? Exactly. We're still finalizing the details with the community board. Then maybe this is actually convenient timing, Wei suggested. You need to do another walkthrough of the property soon anyway. You could stop by his party briefly, be polite, and use the opportunity to check on the space afterward. Maya considered this practical approach. I don't want him to think I'm there to rekindle anything. So bring a date, Wei shrugged. That architecture professor you had coffee with last week seemed nice. What was his name? James. Julian, Maya corrected with a small smile. And it was just coffee. I don't know if I'm ready to introduce him to complicated history. Fair enough. Bring me then. I'll run interference if things get awkward, and we can review the community space plans afterward. The solution felt right, professional, mature, and aligned with her actual priorities. Maya wasn't interested in Alex's attempts to impress her or anyone else. She had genuine business at Skyline Towers that had nothing to do with him. She typed a neutral response to his invitation and added a reminder to her calendar. Then, returning to her quarterly projections, she reflected on how differently they defined success. Alex's version seemed to revolve around appearances: the right address, the right furnishings, the right impression. Maya's centered on impact: creating beautiful, functional spaces that improved lives, building financial security for her family, contributing to the community that had supported them. The week before the party, Maya received an email from the property manager at Skyline Towers mentioning a maintenance issue in one of the upper floor hallways, coincidentally, on Alex's floor. She decided to address it personally during her visit, bringing along the necessary documentation about building ownership in case it became relevant to the discussion with the maintenance staff. She didn't plan to reveal her connection to the building to Alex. What would be the point? Their paths had diverged, and she wished him well in his new life. But as she selected a simple yet elegant outfit for the evening, a choice made for her subsequent business meetings, not to impress her ex, Maya couldn't help but wonder if the universe had a peculiar sense of humor, bringing them together again in such an unexpected way. On the evening of the party, as Maya and Wade drove toward Skyline Towers, she felt a surprising absence of anxiety. Whatever validation Alex was seeking from her visit, she couldn't provide it. But she could be kind, she could be professional, and she could move forward with her actual purpose for being there. Whether Alex ever learned of her connection to the building would depend entirely on circumstances and perhaps a little on fate. By 7:15 p.m., Alex's apartment hummed with the carefully orchestrated energy of success. Floor lamps cast a flattering glow over guests clustered in conversation groups. The hired pianist played an acoustic version of a popular song, just recognizable enough to create a sense of familiarity without being obvious. Waitstaff circulated with trays of hors d'oeuvres designed to photograph well for inevitable social media posts. Alex moved through the space with practiced charm, dropping casual references to his recent promotion, his plans for a Scandinavian vacation, the vintage watch he'd rewarded himself with last month. Each conversation was a subtle opportunity to showcase the life he'd built since the breakup. "The view sold me immediately," he told a group of colleagues, gesturing toward the wall of windows displaying the glittering city below. "There were higher floors available, but the 18th has the perfect vantage point. I didn't want to be looking down on the city, I wanted to feel immersed in it." What he didn't mention was how empty the apartment felt when the guests left, how he sometimes stood at those same windows late at night, wondering if the view had been worth the price, not just financially, but emotionally. At 8:03 p.m., Maya arrived with Wei. Alex spotted her immediately, his rehearsed welcome momentarily forgotten. She looked different somehow, not in her appearance, which was as effortlessly elegant as ever, but in her presence. There was a centeredness to her that made his carefully constructed environment suddenly seem theatrical by comparison. "You made it," he said, embracing her with the brief hug of old acquaintances, noticing how she smelled exactly as he remembered Jasmine in something uniquely her. "Thanks for inviting me," Maya replied warmly, then gestured to her companion. "This is Wei, my assistant and friend." Alex's smile flickered almost imperceptibly. An assistant? The Maya he'd known had been a mid-level property manager. He recovered quickly, offering Wei a firm handshake and his most charming smile. "Make yourselves at home. Drinks are by the window, food is circulating. The tour starts whenever you're ready," he joked, though they all recognized it wasn't entirely a joke. As Alex was pulled away by other guests, Maya and Wei moved through the space, noting the obvious expense that had gone into every detail. The apartment was objectively beautiful, Maya acknowledged, though lacking the personal touches that make a space feel like home. No books that showed evidence of being read, no imperfect but meaningful mementos, nothing that wasn't aesthetically coordinated. "He's certainly committed to the lifestyle," Wei murmured as they accepted glasses of champagne from a passing server. "It's exactly what he always wanted," Maya replied without judgment. She remembered how Alex's eyes had lit up when they walked past luxury buildings during their relationship, how he'd imagine out loud what it would be like to live that way someday. The evening progressed with Alex finding reasons to showcase different aspects of the apartment whenever Maya was nearby, casually demonstrating the smart home system, mentioning the rare marble used in the bathroom, explaining how he'd had the closets custom designed. Maya responded with genuine politeness, complimenting his choices, asking appropriate questions. If Alex was hoping for jealousy or regret, her reactions gave him nothing to work with. She seemed happy for his success but unaffected by it personally. When the conversation turned to her life, Maya shared details selectively: her parents' restaurant expansion, a community project she was working on, a recent trip to Shanghai to connect with her roots. She mentioned her work in real estate only in passing, without specifics that might reveal her connection to the building. As the party reached its midpoint, Alex gathered everyone for an impromptu toast, positioning himself against the backdrop of the city lights. "I want to thank everyone for celebrating this milestone with me," he began, his voice carrying the practiced cadence of someone who had rehearsed his casual remarks. "A year ago, I was at a crossroads, personally and professionally. It would have been easy to play it safe, to settle." His eyes found Maya's briefly before continuing. "But I chose to bet on myself, to pursue the life I truly deserved. And standing here tonight, I can honestly say it was the best decision I ever made." The guests applauded as Alex raised his glass, many unaware of the subtext in his words. Maya offered a sincere smile and joined the toast, recognizing that his speech wasn't really meant for the room at large, it was meant for her. What Alex couldn't see, as he basked in the moment he had so carefully engineered, was the maintenance supervisor who had approached Wei near the kitchen, speaking in hushed tones about the hallway issue they had come to address. Nor could he hear Wei explaining that Ms. Chen, the building's owner, would need to review the situation personally after the party concluded. The wheels of revelation were already in motion, though neither Alex nor Maya knew exactly how the evening would ultimately unfold. As the party began to wind down, guests gradually departed with effusive compliments about the apartment and the evening. Alex maintained his role as the gracious host, but his attention remained fixed on Maya, waiting for the moment when they might speak privately, when he could finally confirm that she recognized what she had given up. That moment seemed to arrive when Maya approached him near the bar, where he was refreshing his drink. "I should be heading out soon," she said. "It was a lovely party, Alex. The apartment is beautiful." "Thanks for coming," he replied, trying to read her expression for any hint of envy or regret. "It means a lot that you could see." He gestured vaguely around the space, letting the implication hang in the air. "See what?" Maya asked gently. The question caught him off guard. "Well, you know. How things turned out. That I'm doing well." Maya's smile held a hint of sadness. "I never doubted you would do well, Alex. That was never why we ended." Before he could respond, Wei approached with an apologetic expression. "Sorry to interrupt, but we really should address that maintenance issue before we leave. The supervisor is waiting in the hallway." Alex's brow furrowed. "Maintenance issue? In my apartment?" "Not in your unit," Maya clarified. "It's in the hallway. There's been a persistent leak that's affecting the ceiling near the elevator bank. We need to inspect it and approve the repair plan." "We?" Alex repeated, confusion evident in his voice. "What do you mean, we?" A moment of realization passed over Maya's face as she understood that the connection had not yet clicked for him. She hesitated, clearly weighing how to proceed. "I should have mentioned it earlier, but it didn't seem relevant to your party," she began carefully. "I work with Skyline Development Group now. Actually, I'm a principal owner. We acquired this building last year." The words hung in the air between them. Alex's expression shifted from confusion to disbelief to something more complicated, a mixture of embarrassment and the dawning recognition that his carefully constructed narrative was crumbling. "You own this building," he finally managed, his voice quieter than before. "This building specifically?" Maya nodded. "Among others. It wasn't intentional that you ended up here. The city isn't that big, and Skyline Towers is one of our most popular properties. But when I saw your invitation, I figured it wouldn't hurt to combine your housewarming with some work I needed to do here anyway." Alex set his drink down with deliberate care, suddenly aware of how the crystal tumbler chosen to impress now felt like a prop in a play whose plot had taken an unexpected turn. "So all evening, while I was showing you around, talking about the exclusive amenities, the premium I paid for this view, you already knew all of it. Better than I do, probably." "Alex," Maya began gently, but he cut her off with a raised hand. "No, it's fine. It's actually perfect." A harsh laugh escaped him. "I invited you here to show you what you were missing, and it turns out what? You're my landlord. This apartment that I thought would prove something to you, you probably signed off on its design specs." Wei quietly excused herself, recognizing the conversation had turned personal. Maya didn't rush to fill the uncomfortable silence that followed. When she finally spoke, her voice was kind but firm. "I didn't come here tonight to make you feel foolish, Alex. I came because you invited me, and because I had work to do in the building. That's all. But don't you see how ironic this is?" Alex pressed. "Everything I've been working toward, everything I thought would prove you wrong about me, you're already beyond it. You don't just live in a place like this, you own the whole damn building." The realization seemed to deflate him, as though the narrative he'd been constructing for months had suddenly lost its foundation. Maya stepped closer, her expression softening. "Our breakup was never about your ambitions or your potential. It was about values, about what success means and what we're willing to sacrifice for it. And what does success mean to you, Maya?" The question wasn't combative but genuinely curious, as though for the first time in months, Alex was actually listening. She considered her answer carefully. "Having the freedom to make choices aligned with my values. Creating spaces where people can build their lives. Taking care of the people I love. It was never about the address or the view or impressing others." As her words sank in, something shifted in Alex's expression, not just the embarrassment of his mistaken assumptions, but perhaps the first glimmer of understanding what Maya had tried to tell him when they parted ways. "I should go," Maya said gently. "I have to meet with the maintenance team. Congratulations again on the apartment. I mean that sincerely." As she turned to leave, Alex was left alone in his perfectly appointed living room, surrounded by evidence of everything he thought mattered, suddenly questioning whether he'd been measuring success by the wrong metrics all along. The revelation left Alex in a tailspin. After the last guests departed, he stood motionless at the center of his empty apartment, the evening replaying in his mind. Each memory now tinged with new context: Maya's polite nods when he boasted about the building's exclusivity, her diplomatic responses when he mentioned what a bargain he'd gotten despite the premium price. Had there been amusement in her eyes? Pity? He poured another drink and wandered to the floor-to-ceiling windows. The city lights blurred as he tried to reconcile the story he'd been telling himself with this new reality. He had invited Maya to witness his triumph, only to discover he was merely a tenant in her empire. Sleep evaded him that night. By morning, embarrassment had hardened into indignation. He convinced himself that Maya had deliberately humiliated him, that she could have mentioned her connection to the building immediately but chose to let him posture throughout the evening. It was easier to nurture this resentment than to confront what her success might reveal about his own priorities. 3 days later, Alex called the building management office about a minor issue with his dishwasher, a pretext to confirm what Maya had claimed. The cheerful receptionist mentioned that Ms. Chen might be in the building next week for the community space announcement, and would he like to schedule his maintenance call accordingly? The confirmation stung afresh. When the maintenance worker arrived, Alex casually inquired about the building ownership. "Oh yeah, Skyline Development Group bought the place last year, the worker confirmed while examining the dishwasher. Best thing that ever happened to this building, if you ask me. The previous management company was all about cutting corners. Ms. Chen's team actually invests in proper repairs and staff training. They're converting that empty retail space downstairs into subsidized studios for local artists, too. Pretty cool, right? Each positive detail aggravated Alex's sense of being outdone. That evening, fueled by wounded pride, he composed an email to Maya, requesting a meeting about unresolved building issues. They both knew there were no such issues, but Maya agreed to meet in the lobby cafe the following afternoon. She arrived exactly on time, dressed in a simple but elegant business suit, her composure a stark contrast to Alex's barely contained agitation. After brief pleasantries, he cut to the heart of his frustration. "Why didn't you tell me immediately? You let me go on all night about the apartment, showing off features you probably selected yourself." Maya regarded him thoughtfully before responding. "Would you have preferred I announced it when I arrived?" "Hello Alex, nice party, by the way, I own this building." "How would that have served any purpose except to make things awkward for everyone, especially you?" "So instead you let me make a fool of myself," he countered. "Is that what you think happened?" Her voice remained calm. "Alex, I came to your party because you invited me. I didn't mention my connection to the building because it wasn't relevant to the social occasion. When it became professionally necessary to address the maintenance issue, I disclosed it. It feels like you set me up." Maya sighed, her patience thinning slightly. "This may be difficult to hear, but not everything is about you. I didn't buy this building to one-up you. I didn't even know you lived here until your invitation. My business decisions are made based on investment potential and community impact.